We are live. At
Yeah.
least I believe we are live. Oh, yes. If anybody's out there in Facebook land, I'm Linda Rosen and I'm here with Traci Austin, the narrator.
Traci
Oh
Odom.
my gosh, why did I say Tracy? Oh, you are a tennis player. How do you like that? I just gave you that name of Tracy Austin was a tennis
I
player.
was going to say, I'm not a
How did I do that? No, I am here with the wonderful Traci Odom. That is just too much.
It's
The,
all good. It's all
the
good.
narrator of my novel, The Emerald Necklace, and I am so thrilled to be here. But before I start and introduce you to Traci Odom, please let us know you're here. Put your comments in the comment part so we'll know you're there. And if you have any questions, just slip them in there. And we're
Almost
bringing,
nothing's off limits. Almost nothing.
okay, you know what? Something's telling me, giving me a countdown. But anyway, here we are. I believe we are live. And if we're not,
Just say live 51.
we're going. We're going.
Okay.
So here I am with Traci Odom, and I am thrilled to introduce you to this wonderful narrator. Traci is a veteran of stage, film, and television. She has played everything from a tree to an Irish setter to a lawyer, but as a narrator of more than 300 audiobooks, she has expanded that repertoire now to include dragons, trolls, witches, and even devilishly handsome humans. But to relax in her spare time, Traci daydreams to becoming the first female America Ninja Warrior. But then she would have to get off her couch to make that dream a reality.
Yeah.
So she lives out her daydreams in her professional life, both on camera and on microphone. So, hello, Traci.
Hello. How are you?
This is great. It's very exciting for the author to actually meet the narrator because when I learned that my book is going into be an audiobook, you get your angst like, oh my gosh, somebody, these characters are alive. They're my friends.
Yeah.
And will a narrator make them her friends? And
Yes.
what voice are you going to give to them? So it's really nice to meet you and to talk with you. It really is. It's
Thank
wonderful.
you. Thank
So
you.
my first thing is though, I don't have devilishly handsome humans in my book, and I don't have trolls and witches. Was this your first historical fiction?
It was. It was
Oh,
my first historical fiction. I've done a couple of nonfiction books that have spoken to a period in time, but it's not the same thing. It's more like a documentary type of thing.
right.
So this was my first historical fiction, and it was amazing because it was a time frame in which I was alive.
Yeah.
I was young, but I was alive, and so the one of the main elements to the book. I mean, historically speaking, here we are again.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
we're
Yeah.
back in the same fight for our rights.
Yeah. Yeah.
The book has so much as like this central theme to it.
Yeah. And I will say, when I wrote The Emerald Necklace, that was not an intention of mine.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I was coming to the end of writing it that Roe v. Wade got overturned. So we got into that part. But we don't have to get political. No, no,
Please, let's not. Let's
no.
not.
But what brought you? Now you've been on stage, television, film,
Mhm.
live stage.
Yes,
What brought you to narrating?
it's actually if I go back to like the first time I ever, in essence, in my simple way, narrated something, I was probably in my early 20s. But when my niece, who is 36 now, was 4, she and her family were overseas deployed. And the only way to be able to have a relationship with her would be to read her stories on little cassette tapes. So I would do that. But then, years pass. And back, gosh, I guess it was 2010, I had a friend of mine, family. I was part of a community, and there was a family that one of the young children, River, was about to have his 9th birthday. He's 22 or 23 now. And he was the kind of kid that would hang out on the monkey bars and listen to Harry Potter.
Oh.
He would just like all day be just on the monkey bars listening. And so I asked his mom, what can I get River for his birthday? And she's like, well, you could read a story. So I was like, oh, how, okay. And I figured it out, and I read to him on a digital file, little thing that you put in what is that thing?
A flash drive?
Yes, thank you. A flash drive. And it just became, it was so fulfilling to do that. And then I started going, is this something? And I started investigating. And at that time, an organization was just getting started called ACX, Audiobook Creation Exchange, which is a part of the big Gorilla, Amazon, and Audible, and all of that. And I started working directly with authors that way. Eventually, one of the first books I did, and I will say this all the way to the book I'm prepping now, every single book has had a message for me in that moment. Personally, something in it. And so the very first book I did was a nonfiction, and it was about healing. And I was like, oh, okay, I needed to read this now. And then the next book it was so much fun. I really jumped in with both feet. It was vampires and a cat who was really a wizard, and it was just the most delicious. I got to play the bad guy and the good guy and the creepy troll kind of characters, and something that as an actor I would never be cast for on camera.
They would have to have several different people playing each of those roles. So that's really fun.
Yeah.
Playing all of the roles.
All of the roles. And I just got hooked up with some really wonderful authors early in my career who did some work that helped me create the true voice of me. And with each book, I get better and better. I always intend for each book to be the best I've ever done. So,
well, I think we all hope that that's the best one we've written. That's the best one we've narrated, whatever. But yeah, you say voice because an author has her or their own voice.
Mm-hmm.
You may have your own voice, but then you have to take on the voice of the character. So it's interesting. I just thought about that. Is that the voice of the character? Is it the pulling on the voice of the author, or are you putting your own?
That's the beauty of the collaboration, because when an author, and I know I've talked to a number of authors where they like, well, my characters wouldn't let me sleep last night, so I had to get up and write their scene kind of thing. And so when an author is so intimately involved in the creation of this story, I mean, I admire you. My sister's an author, and I just kept saying, wow, how do you just get your butt in the chair? Get the butt in the chair to write, and just it comes through you. And when you put so much of your heart and soul into creating the story and really channeling the characters, that comes through on the page. And yes, it goes through my interpretation. But when now I do a lot of romance with a lot of growly men, and you know, not every man can have the same growly voice, otherwise you'd never know. So
Right.
have to take some license with pitch and tone and pacing and accents and that sort of thing. But when an author really gives their heart to creating these characters, it's really very easy. It's what the throwaway characters, the waiter, the something,
Yeah. Yeah.
the guy on the toll booth kind of
Yeah.
stuff that you
Yeah.
go, well, they're in Boston. Do I want to do that? Yeah, the guy, the Boston. I gotta, on Harvard Yard kind of thing. But you know, it's easy to hook in when the writing is so good.
Well, that's it's fascinating. It really is. So tell me the process. I'm sure that there are people out there, or I would imagine there are some people out there who would like to narrate books or even narrate their own. So from what's the process from the time, how do you get the book till it's done?
So let's say we're working independently with an author. Like say you and we work through a publisher. So we had a through person that we were doing
Right.
everything with. But when I'm working directly with an author, I get the manuscript, I read it, I make any notes about character and pronunciations. It's, you know, you have to read the book because there have been instances, thank God I have not been the person who has dealt with this, where a person didn't prep it and they get to page 300 of a 350 page book and it's like his British accent. And you go,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
all right, well, now I have to go back and do the whole book again. So we read it, I read it, I'm talking about the royal we, and make my questions. And when we're working independently, I send those questions to you and answer it, get in the studio and record.
And
And
then
and then
once that recording is,
Baker, my editor who does the proofing, he looks at the book and he's listening and he catches any mistakes I've made and any inconsistencies. And then he comes back to me with what we call pickups that I go in and just do those sentences. He slips them back in, does his magic again, and then here you go. And it goes on the market. It makes
wow.
millions and millions and millions of dollars.
So, yes. So, how long does it usually take you from when you first get a manuscript? An author has discovered you, hopefully, somebody will today, by listening, and pitches to you with their manuscript. How long from that time that you get the manuscript till it's ready?
The recording process for me, when a book is written well, I can typically get what's called a finished hour of audio in 1.5 to 2 hours. If the writing is a little rougher or a little more dense, say for like especially nonfiction, then it might take me 2+ hours in the studio to record a finished hour. And there's a general average. If you've got a 90,000 word manuscript from prologue to the end, not the credits, not
Right.
kind of acknowledgments and stuff like that. There's a formula of 9,300 spoken words per finished hour, sort of pacing. So that gives you a general idea. So handy dandy little thing here. So if you've got 90,000 words divided by 9,300, that's about 9.7 finished hours. And so that's going to take me probably 20 hours in the studio, but then another few hours of prep work.
Right.
So I typically give myself an average of 3 to 1, so that it's from here's the manuscript to here's your finished audio. My part is in that roughly 3 to 1. Now, my editor also, he has to do his magic, and he listens through the book, and as I said, listening for errors and things like that to
Right.
make sure.
And then you may have to redo some of it at that point.
Mhm.
So when you're working independently with an author,
Mhm.
You then give them the finished product.
Yeah.
Here's your MP3, whatever.
Through a distribution process.
Okay,
Like
so
through ACX or Spoken Realms, or there's a number of different distribution.
but that is done for the author. She or he does not have to go do that on. So you handed them the package. Here it is. Now go promote it.
So, for example, on ACX, I load it all in there. I tell you, hey, Linda, it's there. Take a listen. Then you come back to me within, an appropriate time frame, so that we're, months down the line going, I haven't listened to it yet. And you say if there's any pickups you need. Oh my God, your editor missed something. You missed something, and so then I have another round of pickups maybe, and then when you're happy, when I'm happy, we hit that. It's all good, and then the distribution arm does their quality control, and it's on the market. Things have been moving pretty quickly, surprisingly, lately for the indie side. I know when working through a publisher, there's another level. So, and they have a calendar that they'll say, Traci, we need your files by this time, and then we'll get you your pickups by this time. And then it's usually a couple weeks to a month later that it hits the market.
Well, it's quickly. I mean, I know the Emerald Necklace came out on May 11th, and on May 11th, I got an email from my publisher that it was picked up by Tantor, and the audiobook is coming out on the 25th.
Yeah.
So really, it's 2 months, 2.5 months later. It's a quick turnaround.
It can be. There are books that are way longer, and there are books that are way shorter. I've got things under my pseudonym that recently with an indie author, and it's really great, like shifter space, sci-fi, fantasy, romance, erotica. So good. And
so is there anything that you would not want to narrate?
There's been a lot of discussion about consent, and I tend to, under my pseudonym, I actually like doing the projects that are darker and they skirt that edge. So I will do projects where something bad happens to a hero or heroine, as long as that is the point from which they grow. That's like the place of arcing to healing, because bad things happen in people's lives, and that doesn't mean you feel their stories aren't worth telling. But there are people that have written things that are just for the sake of, I'm going to do a rape scene just for the sake of it, and it's like, okay, well, maybe not that, maybe not.
Yeah.
And I'm not I'm very aware of, what I'm admitting online, that nonfiction and I aren't the best match.
Okay, well, that's, now, so you enjoy playing the parts.
I do. I like biographies and memoirs, and there are certainly things like that first book I did that was related to healing in an area that I needed. Absolutely. I love doing those. But there are, the things that are more technical. You don't want me.
Okay. Well, as far as playing the parts, Was there one particular character in the Emerald Necklace that you enjoyed playing the most?
You know who one of my favorite, I know she wasn't a main character, but I loved her, Gertrude.
Oh,
I
yes.
love Gertrude. She's the artist, and she is the one that put Rosalie in with the other artists and got her back. You know, she really started back into the community of sculpting. And that was another thing, you know, I was saying about there's something in each book. And certainly there's a history here that I'm very familiar with, because at the time this was placed in 1969, I was a young girl. And
Right.
so I didn't certainly understand the politics of what was going on, but I was aware that there was this furor. I
Yes.
knew who like Gloria Steinem was, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
and there were these marches and, you know, hippies and all of that. But also there was an element when I first read through the book, I'm like, okay, she's Rosalie, the lead, one of the main two women, my age. It's like, oh, wow, okay, she's exactly my age. And I have this where it's like I write my notes in here.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of people that will write their notes on their iPads as they're narrating or as they're prepping. I like my notebooks where it's like I'm writing, this is what she said about Rosalie, this is what Rosalie said about herself, this is what other people said about Rosalie. But when you described her, I'm like, okay, yep, there's some similarities there. And I have always wanted to sculpt. I've not taken the steps towards that, but it's something that I've always thought, gosh, if there was a physical art I was to do, like with
That's
my
the nice part about getting your fingers in it. And it's
yeah,
totally, well, maybe Rosalie will get you into the studio and you will start sculpting.
I
Wouldn't
know
that
it was
be nice?
either Gertrude or what, like going the other.
Well, Emily was the one who held that owned the gallery.
She owned the gallery,
Yes.
and there was.
Well, it's interesting to me to hear which character resonated the most with you because she's not one of the main characters.
She's not one of the
And
main
she
characters.
was not in my plan when I started writing the book, but as happens all the time, somebody comes in and tells you I belong in here.
It's like, hello, you need to put me in.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
And then,
So,
I mean, when I first was reading it, I was like, okay, Fred and Rosalie, they don't like each other. They do like each other. They're jealous of each other for different reasons. And yet at the same time, I don't want to, no spoilers here, but what they have in common, it's like, how? I mean, that's the beauty of living a life, that when you are available to the people around you, you discovered these commonalities, and that, you know, I'm jealous of this person because they have this, this, and this. Well, at the same time, that person is jealous of me because I have this, this, and this.
yes. And that
And
goes on in life all the time.
all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I can speak to, you know, relationships I've had in the past with friends that it's like, well, their life is so easy because they have money, they have this, they're married and they have kids. And it's like, but they're looking at me going, God, you never had to answer in these ways.
Yeah.
And he's had these freedoms. And it's, you know, we can always say grass is greener, right?
Well, that's why I chose that huge theme about envy in there because I think everybody can relate to envy. But talking about scenes, was there any particular scene in the Emerald Necklace that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, you know, when we talk about, I was saying about how something for me besides the
Yes.
characters, there was, and what chapter? Chapter 40. There was, I made a note across the page of like, this is what I'm doing in my life, which was see, what did it matter? What did matter was that she had started living again, had gone back into her studio, had invited friends over. Even her garden was prospering. And she was understanding that she had forced herself after an event in her life, which is really where the book starts. So, I mean, that's
right. That's fine.
But, after the loss of her husband, that she had to force herself back into life. And as I'm narrating this, I'm coming out of a time in my own personal life of massive change. And in the last 2.5 years, a lot of important people leaving the planet, passing on. And so the impact of her navigating healing from that massive loss, it just touched on all of that I have been healing from as well. And it wasn't even a particular scene. It was, her going back and getting back into the art. And this right here is
that's your studio back there.
Yeah, this is my studio. And getting back into the studio, this has been a lifeline for me in some of the transitions that have happened in the last few years. And the whole world has been crazy.
Yes. But that has to be such a wonderful feeling. I think it happens to readers in general, but something resonates with you and helps you in your own life. But then to go put the words, out there in your voice, playing somebody else's voice. I am so anxious to hear the whole book. I've only heard a snippet, and anybody who's listening to this can hear a snippet right now on my website, linda-rosen.com, because I have that little snippet there, and they can pre-order the book. It's coming out on the 25th. And if you pre-order the book, I don't know if you're aware of this, but if you pre-order the book, and the link is on my website, you get, whoever pre-orders gets 2 extra other audiobooks for free. So you're really getting 3 audiobooks for the price of 1.
I didn't know that. That's good.
It's worth pre-ordering rather than waiting till it comes out.
Yeah.
And
pre-order. That's only next Tuesday, so do it.
Yeah, so hurry up. And it's on my website. The link is on my website, linda-rosen.com. If we could, I want to wrap this up soon, but 2 questions though. I really wanted to say, did you have the hardest part about narrating The Emerald Necklace? Was there?
The hardest part of narrating it was also what I was just saying about the similarities, because in the last year, my dad passed, my ex passed, and my mom passed.
Oh my goodness.
And
oh my goodness.
Passed at the end of January. And so when I'm narrating this book in May, I'm just coming to the point of going, wow, mom's only been gone 4 months. Dad's been gone for like 2 years, right? And so some of those expressions of sadness that Rosalie had, and also, again, not wanting to get into spoilers, but the losses Fran had.
Yes.
That there were so many similarities that sometimes I'll get in the booth and hit those moments, and it's like, okay, now I have to leave the booth.
Oh my goodness.
So many emotions that in some instances it's it's like, use it, you can use it. I'm still able to, with the emotion, still able to narrate. Other times it's like, no, I gotta go have a cup of tea. I well, for me, a glass of iced tea,
Uh-huh.
and I just have to step away because things are fresh.
Yes. Well, I have to tell thank you so much for that, because you read the book ahead of time and you still decided to narrate it, even though, and now even more anxious to hear the entire thing, because your emotions will come out in that. And that I think I love listening to audiobooks, when you really feel and hear the emotions rather than just a straight narration,
Yeah,
just when an actor really acts the book,
yeah,
which
yeah. And I feel like one of the things that, as a long time actor and having, come up in the days of, a chorus line, be a table, be a sled, be this, that I'm not so much of a method actor. I'm a feel it right now actor. And audiobooks gives me so much room for that. And your book with women that were aged appropriately to me. I do a lot of other ages, obviously, because romance, they're typically,
right.
20 something women. And I've had people say, well, your voice is too old for that. And it's like, wait a minute. I've had this same voice since I was 18. So,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
you know, there's not an age to a voice, but there is.
So we can wrap this up by telling people out there, if they are looking for a narrator for their own book, how do they find you?
TraciOdom.com, www.traciodom.com.
That's right. Yes. Wonderful. This has been fascinating to me, hearing all about how your emotions and everything that went into my book, The Emerald Necklace.
You
And if
wrote
everybody remembers, it comes out July 25th, but you can pre-order now on
Rose.
linda-rosen.com and get 2 extra audiobooks. Traci, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure.
Thank you. You made it easy. It was my first live. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.